Lorenzo, Nadal, Spanish football team. What a great time to be a Spanish sports fan.
Baby, everything is alright. Uptight, out of sight. Baby, everything is alright. Uptight, out of sight.
So that's Spain through to the final 16 in South Africa. Now all they need is Fernando to up his game here in Valencia.
And those recent struggles make this an important home weekend for Fernando Alonso at a circuit that was largely brought into Formula One thanks to his success on the track. And the good news for the hordes of Fernando and Ferrari fans packed into the grandstands around here 2 weekends ago. The race was a cracker and their hero was at the very heart of it.
Hey, yo. You ready? Let's do it.
Only one driver has won from pole this season. Lewis Hamilton aiming to change that, and he's away first so far. Liuzzi there caused a bit of a problem, and he's suffered as well. Here's Mark Webber though alongside Jenson Button.
Come on. I'm the definition.
Webber is through.
Half man, half drugs, ass the clubs. Bad boy, that's what's up. After bucks, crush crews after us. No games, we ain't
They're
laughing
wheel to
much.
wheel as they go out now towards the track, the former teammates. And Alonso has just got ahead.
What changed but the name? We still here, you're rocking with the best. Don't worry if I write rhymes.
Michael
I
Schumacher's
write
gone straight across the grass.
Who's the boss? Dudes is lost. Don't think cause I'm iced out, I'ma cool off. Who else but me?
Verwemi jousting for the lead with Fernando Alonso. Look at Hamilton coming through. I just wonder whether he might do that and see if he can get through on the inside of Alonso.
We never left, we just move in silence and rep to the death. It's official, I survived what I've been through.
He judged that perfectly, did Lewis Hamilton.
Continues.
This is Liuzzi and Massa again on the outside of one, but this time they don't connect.
Webber leading, Hamilton in second. He's got the inside line at the moment for this first corner, and he's taken it. Lewis Hamilton back in the lead.
We ain't going nowhere. We're gonna stay right here.
And Button comes through, and it's a McLaren 1-2 now.
We ain't going nowhere. We gonna stay right here.
Surely that was another move by Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Shoved him into the wall.
We gonna stay right here.
Lewis Hamilton wins again in Canada.
Can't be stopped now, cause it's bad boy for life.
Well, there was only one bad boy in Canada, and it wasn't Lewis Hamilton. A great weekend for McLaren, a great weekend for Lewis. He now returns to Europe, hoping the long straights, tight corners and heavy braking zones of Valencia's harbourside track will be the place he secures his first Formula One hat-trick. To do so, he'll know today is crucial. Overtaking here isn't easy, so a good grid slot is a must. And both Lewis and Jenson will be getting excited about 2 weekends' time. I've had lots of Twitter messages from fans saying their tickets have arrived in the post. The British Grand Prix at Silverstone is on World Cup final day. I wonder if and what we'll all be celebrating on July the 11th. And talking about celebrating, both David and Eddie enjoyed the football last night and we'll be hoping that the action on track can live up to the atmosphere of it. But I'm never, ever, as long as I live, going to another football game with you. You just get too overexcited.
Jake, you just started to talk football since Wednesday. We didn't hear a peep out of you before England won last weekend, and now everything is about football.
Yeah, and we'll be talking more football this weekend, trust me. A very, very big weekend. I'm getting nervous already. But let's talk about Formula One. That's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're here to celebrate. We haven't celebrated classic Grand Prix, though, here in the past couple of years, Eddie. But perhaps at this stage in the season, what happens on the track isn't as important as the situation that Formula One finds itself in when it leaves here.
Well, you know, this is really a crucial race. I think in most of the teams' minds, we've heard Ferrari have come out very clearly and said watch our car at Valencia, because the updates are all going to be there, and this is how they're going to see their season out. I may remind you that, you know, this time last year, Braun won this race and went on to win the championship of the constructors. So it's a crucial race. Like every race is crucial, but this one in particular, because it's halfway.
David?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Every race is crucial, as Eddie says. But I think the important thing about this, reaching the halfway point of the season pretty much, is that everyone's had the chance to copy each other in terms of F-ducts and blown diffusers and all that sort of stuff. Now we get into the position where the next 2-3 races will be the decision point for teams. Are they going to continue to develop, focus on trying to win this championship, or are they going to say, look, white flag, we're not good enough, concentrate on next year?
OK, well, we'll talk about the pecking order from here on in just a few moments, but let's have a look at how things are standing after the first 8 races of the 2010 Formula 1 season. And as far as the drivers are concerned, well, it couldn't be much closer, could it? Lewis Hamilton, 3 points ahead of his teammate. His teammate, 3 points ahead of Mark Webber, and then Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, 2 drivers who know how to win in Formula 1, hot on their heels. One of only 5 drivers could be leading by the time we leave here. And as far as their constructors are concerned, well, Red Bull led for a while, Ferrari were up the front, and now McLaren are currently the team to beat in Formula 1. And for those 4 teams at the front, it's still all about 2010. It's all about hopefully picking up the title at the end of the season, whereas for some of the other teams, particularly at this end of the pit lane, perhaps they're slowly starting to turn their attention to 2011. And this week we've got a good idea about how Formula 1 will look next year. So with all the details on that and the rest of the news from here in sunny Spain, here's Ted Kravitz.
While Lewis Hamilton has taken the championship momentum away from Red Bull and Mark Webber, he's talking down his chances of pole today and a 3rd successive win tomorrow. McLaren are the only team without any significant car upgrades here in Valencia, which leaves Lewis thinking Red Bull could have the measure of them in qualifying.
They're looking very, very competitive. More so on the single lap rather than the race pace, I think. But so I think our race pace maybe is closer, but the grip which looks like they have through the high speed is difficult for us to touch it. But it's all really down to not damage limitation, but just getting as much as you can whilst, you know, and taking as much as we can from them whilst they have the advantage.
Jenson Button's freshened up his helmet design, but that hasn't found him any extra speed. Button's having to contend with a teammate on top form, but admits that Hamilton beat him fair and square in Montreal.
The last race was just a bit of a shock. I thought I got the most out of the car, which I personally thought that I did, but Lewis was just phenomenal in qualifying. I couldn't touch him around Canada. So no, I come here positive that I can have a good race and good qualifying. I'm not putting myself under pressure, and I'm happy with the balance that I have with the car.
Meantime, there's a lingering doubt over Sebastian Vettel's gearbox after it ran with low oil for half the race in Canada. Any change to it now would incur a 5-place grid penalty. Red Bull are also facing questions about whether they've wasted their early season car advantage. You've got the fastest car. It would be terrible if you lost the championship from here.
Well, it's a long championship, you know, and obviously we are not cruising and just messing it up. You know, it's a tight battle, as we've seen. It's not always easiest. I think, as you said, we do have a very good car, a very strong car in the corners and everything that's happening around the corners.
In practice coverage on the red button, we've seen Bruno Senna's left wing mirror fall off, only to be collected by Sebastian Buemi's Toro Rosso. While at the sharp end of the grid, the development race has intensified. Mercedes and Renault have copied the Red Bull-style exhaust system we detailed on this programme a few races ago. The system feeds high-velocity hot exhaust through the diffuser, giving the car extra rear downforce. Ferrari also have the system as they try to get back into championship contention. Temperature sensors on the inside of the rear wing point to potential overheating drawbacks with the idea, but Ferrari admit they need every tenth they can get.
As we are now, there is not enough, because we are not quick enough at the moment. So we need to improve, we need to raise our level, and second part of the championship we need to be better.
And finally, the sports governing body, the FIA, have issued a whole host of changes to F1 for next year. They're featured in detail on the BBC Sport website, but the headlines include a return for the KERS Power Boost button, Pirelli have been selected as the sole F1 tyre supplier, and the 107% rule returns, so that cars that are too slow in qualifying will not be allowed to race. On this year's form, the Hispania cars wouldn't have qualified for 3 of the 8 races so far. but the new rule that has the biggest effect on the racing is movable rear wings. The plan is for drivers to be able to thin out their rear wing and gain extra speed in order to overtake a rival immediately ahead. It's received a mixed response from the drivers.
The movable rear wing is for me a bit, in combination with Kurz, maybe a bit a dangerous one, because the top speed difference between the cars will be quite huge.
It would be good at one point to have someone asking the drivers what we think about these changes. I like them, I mean, I have no problem with them, but it would be nice that before they are introduced that at least they ask us, because we could actually give some interesting feedback.
We'll put Pedro de la Rosa's thoughts to David Coulthard in just a few moments. Actually, David has gone all the way down to the other end of the pit lane here in Valencia. We're currently down here with the new teams. You'll find out why in just a couple of seconds. But before we go any further, Eddie, has anyone ever presented you with an Irish stew in the shape of your face?
That's be a new one on me. Jake, why do you bring up all these surprises?
Because
we're talking motor racing here.
I think this was perhaps a new one on Pedro de la Rosa. Would you like to tuck into this paella?
Oh, God, I couldn't think anything worse. Can you imagine having your face on a paella? I do adore paella. It's one of my favourite foods, but this has taken it to a different extreme that I'm not sure I could even cope with.
Yeah. It's art, though, I think, just about. Anyway, right, let's talk about Lotus. Come on, Eddie, let's talk about Formula One, and let's talk to Jarno Trulli. His team is celebrating 500 Grand Prix this weekend. But, Jarno, if anyone is due a change of luck in this sport at the moment, I think that man is you, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, anyway, I'm really happy to be here at the moment. It's 500 Grand Prix for the team, so it's a great weekend for us. We're gonna celebrate. The Chapman family is here, so we have to go out and do our best no matter what.
Before we talk about your great football team on the beach in Sardinia now having a well-earned holiday after that exertion in South Africa, it was shambolic, wasn't it? We won't talk about that. What I want to talk to you about is you've won Grand Prix, you've been on podiums, you've scored points. So far, you've yet to finish in the top 10. This must be hugely disappointing.
Well, not really. It's disappointing, yes, but not the fact that I didn't finish in the top 10. Is that I finished very few races, which is a bit frustrating. We started pretty well the season with the winter testing. The car seems reliable, but it seems I'm experiencing all the bad luck possible on my car. So I'm really looking forward for a change of luck. Nevertheless, I think the team has made great improvements. So I'm really happy the way it's going. Obviously, I'm looking for a better chance.
So you've never ever thought about quitting?
Not at all. Listen.
Jarno, me you're talking to. Have you ever thought about quitting?
No, at all. The day I will feel slow, then I will personally say that I will call the time. But at the moment, I don't feel slow. I think I can give a lot to the teams. And actually, I'm looking forward already for next year, because this year we knew already it would have been really difficult. But we are exceeding our expectation, because personally, as a new team, we're doing very well.
Yeah, well, not really a new team, Jarno. You've got a fair bit of heritage behind you. We've talked about the 500th Grand Prix this weekend.
Yeah, but it's a brand new team.
Of course, it's a brand new team, but you've got a lot of support, and actually that brings with it its own pressure. You had a special Lotus Day in Norfolk last weekend. A few thousand people turned out. What was it like to get involved in something like this?
Just one word. That was impressive. I was there, more than 20,000 people. Considering that there was another big event in England, I think that was really, really a big thing. And I was really proud to be there with all the Chapman family, with all those cars. It was really fantastic. This just show me and everyone how much there is behind this Team Lotus.
Is it as big as the Ferrari name? Of course, in many respects, but you as an Italian, Ferrari is number one. But were you surprised with the legacy and the history behind Lotus?
I am absolutely convinced that probably after Ferrari there is only Lotus, and it's good that Lotus is back after so many years, because this is where it belongs. But obviously, it's not belonging where we're finishing now. It will belong where we'll finish next year and in the future, because we want to take Lotus back to the win.
Okay, Jarno, plenty of work ahead, not just this season by the sounds of things, but next year as well.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you staying in Formula One. See you soon. Thank you very much. Thanks for chatting to us. And actually, Jarno was quite vocal about the fact that next year they're looking to bring in this new adjustable rear wing for the drivers. He said he knows what it's like to have a rear wing failure. I said to Eddie, did you ever have a rear wing failure in a Jordan? And Eddie's answer, he had most things. He had most things in a Jordan. Right, we're now going to head down here and head to Mercedes. That's where David Coulthard is. He's with Ross Brawn, because it's time to really try and work out what the pecking order is at the moment in Formula One. McLaren have taken the last 2 wins. Have Red Bull finally lost their control? Can Ferrari stop faltering? But the first question to ask is, are the defending champions leaving it too late to win the title this year?
To beat Nico will be hard and difficult, but I have quite a lot of trust in myself, yes.
Let's see if the 7-time champion can show us what he certainly used to be made of.
Michael Schumacher needs a new front wing, he'll have to pit.
Nico Rosberg comes through for Mercedes in third. Schumacher goes off.
Good job, Nico.
It's another podium for Nico Rosberg.
It's not often you hear that, is it? Michael's holding everybody up.
It's all going rather wrong for Nico Rosberg.
I think that was very opportunistic from Michael Schumacher.
The Mercedes made a great start there.
Look at this, as Button has a go at Michael Schumacher into turn 8.
Oh, they're coming together almost then. Michael Schumacher's gone straight across the grass. Oh, my word, shoved him into the wall.
That was bordering on very naughty from Michael Schumacher.
Now, there is a turn up for the books.
Well, there we can see how Mercedes' season has been so far. They are, of course, the defending champions from their title with Brawn GP last year, and 108 points isn't what they would have hoped for after 8 races this season. Eddie, I mentioned there, the fact that time is looking like it's running out for Mercedes. I suppose that having a British-based team run by Germans, they might be disagreeing on a few things this weekend, but will even they agree that they've got to do it now or never this year?
All the nice talk and all of the return and the euphoria that was involved, particularly with the Schumacher affair, they all believed in that team that Schumacher could return back to winning the championship, and clearly they're not going to. The team does not look to be at the same level, the same pace. Michael Schumacher, based on last race performance, was pretty atrocious, and if he continues like that, he'd have to call to question his own future in the business. So at the moment, I think Mercedes are marching time a bit, but they will be back. Make me sure Ross will make sure that happens, and they will have a stunning car next year.
OK, those are the thoughts of Eddie Jordan. What are the thoughts of Ross Brawn? He's with David Coulthard. David.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm down here with Ross. Ross, this time last year you'd won 6 of the first 7 Grand Prix. You were leading both drivers and constructors' championship. Not looking quite so good this year. What's your take on the development so far?
Well, we've not done a good enough job this year, and whether the focus on last year's championship took a little bit of edge off what we've produced as a car this year is possible. I think the stability of the team now, we know where we are, we know where we're going, is going to be much more positive for the future. I think this time last year we were doing well, but we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know what future the team was, we didn't have any major sponsors. Now things are in place so we can consolidate what we have and really work on the future, but we're a bit disappointed at the moment.
Obviously there's been a lot of focus on Michael Schumacher coming back, 7-time world champion. Do we just expect too much from Michael, or do you share a similar view to us, which has been a little bit underwhelming so far in the first 8 Grand Prix?
I think Michael would admit he's not where he wants to be. We've seen definite signs of progress in some of the races, and then sometimes we're taking a step back. But we haven't had a great car this year, and I think when you're struggling a bit with the car as well, it's not helped. Come into what is a very, very competitive form of sport with perhaps not the best equipment has not helped him.
All right, we wish you luck for this afternoon.
And to give you an idea about how small it is here in the pit lane, this is how close David Coulthard is to us. David, just pop back over here and he thought it was finished. He thought, that's it for me, my day's work is over. It was actually here last year that Eddie ran into the garage and grabbed Michael Schumacher after his aborted comeback. We heard from Ross there. How disappointed have you been as one of Michael's former rivals?
Well, just as I said to Ross here, we got used to expecting amazing performances from Michael in his first career. And to put in a merely good performance at some of the races just isn't good enough from the record that he has. And to put in an average performance like we saw in Canada is just disappointing.
OK, just isn't good enough. That's not good enough. An average performance, that's not good enough. The same could apply to the next team we're going to talk about, Ferrari. For them, for their 2 drivers, a win is everything. It's been a pretty struggling season after a pretty impressive start.
Fernando Alonso wins for the first time in 2010, and it's a 1-2 for Ferrari.
That is very ominous for the rest of this field.
Oh, Massa got it wrong there, didn't he? Lewis Hamilton's made a great move, but Alonso there facing the wrong way.
Massa will lead the World Championship.
Good boy, beautiful. Go on now, get on with it.
It's Engine 3, this is only race 4.
Hamilton must have got the start. They've always coming together.
It's very much a question of whether the prancing horse can get anywhere near the back of the charging bull.
Okay, half a second faster with a broken front wing. I think we found the solution. And the home crowd will love that.
Look at that, Alonso all lit up. One fiery Spaniard. Oh, Hamilton under pressure from Alonso. Massa is lapping 2 seconds faster than the leaders.
The checkered flag is out in Montreal.
Current world champion and 2 former world champions on the podium. This is going to be so tight.
And you can see how Ferrari's season has got a great start in Bahrain, and then they really started to falter. But they turned things around in Canada. Fernando Alonso finishing on the podium there. 161 points for Ferrari. And Stefano Domenicali, the team principal, is with us. Well, Stefano, Ferrari have got a lot of work to do. It's your team responsible for lifting Italy after the World Cup. Are you ready for this?
You know that as in England, football is very important. So let's keep the very important things to other place. But I don't want to have this kind of responsibility, but I have to have it, I know.
You must be glad that your drivers are Spanish and Brazilian, respectively, because their teams are still in. And it's important to have happy drivers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's important to have happy drivers, but it's more important to have a fast car, to be honest with you.
OK, well, let's talk about your fast car then. Let's talk about this season. It felt after Bahrain that you'd really lost the momentum, that other teams were developing faster than you, and you kept saying to all the Ferrari fans at home, wait for Valencia, that's when we'll turn things around. Be honest with us now, looking at the car behind us, your new blown rear diffuser at the back, how good is this car?
I mean, I think that for sure it seems that we have done a step, but also the others are doing a step ahead. That's normal. What I said and what I confirmed is Valencia, it is for sure a very important weekend for us that will finish tomorrow, and so don't want to take any conclusion before that. But you know, it's one of the next couple of developments that we should bring in the next couple of races, because as I always said, the season will be very long.
OK, well, I'm going to go and find Eddie Jordan. I will leave you with this thought. I know you're good friends with Fabio Capello.
Yes,
Send
absolutely.
him a text message and just say to him, 60 million people have waited 44 years. That's long enough, OK?
Well, text message is not long enough because this is a great responsibility. You know that you know, I'm a great friend of him, and I will cheer for him and for your team now.
That's nice to know, and you're wearing the right colours as well, a bit of red and white. Stefano,
Okay,
have a good weekend. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. Well, Eddie, Stefano is in a jovial mood as ever, but getting serious for a moment, this car now has to be quick for Ferrari, doesn't it?
He does a great job. He should be an actor because he's able to disguise the tension that there must be. I mean, every Ferrari fan throughout the world, not alone the investors and the shareholders, this is a big time for him. He has to deliver. And at the moment, they haven't delivered. They started the season so well. Most people thought it was going to be a Ferrari walkover. And hey, what's happened? They are floundering. They're absolutely not even close to where they should be.
OK, well, we've heard from Mercedes, we've heard from Ferrari. What about the team that at the start of the season, nobody thought they'd catch? Red Bull.
Here comes Vettel then for Red Bull. He could be on pole then. What a time there.
This kid's the real deal, make no mistake about that. Tell you what, that Red Bull's sick.
We don't need this.
Oh, that's incredible.
And then Webber comes through now, there's been a collision. And it's going from bad to worse for Mark Webber. Shooting for pole. And look at that, he's done it.
That's sensational.
And at last, Sebastian Vettel wins in 2010. 1-2 for Red Bull.
Vettel right back in the mix.
Sebastian Vettel's pulled it out again. It's 4 out of 4. Can anyone really touch Red Bull?
Hamilton just smashing up the road, mate. We saw it, Mark. We saw it.
In the land of the Matador, it's Red Bull on a charge. Mark Webber, pole position, checkered flag, championship lead. Oh, dear, they come together. What was going on there?
They've thrown it away.
Webber leading. Hamilton sided up, and he's taken it. And this race just seems to be going further and further away from Red Bull. Vettel will take 4th, Webber 5th, but McLaren now lead the World Championship.
Well, this is how Red Bull's season's gone so far. They really should have been at the top. Remember, they had pole for the first 7 races, but they now have 193 points. They sit second, and David Coulthard is live with Christian Horner. David.
Yeah, Christian, we've just been looking at the build-up of the season here. You've dominated qualifying, but it hasn't just worked out in the races. How do you reflect on that?
Well, qualifying Saturdays have gone really well for us. You know, we've had 7, 8 out of 8 poles so far, and yeah, we've not managed to convert all of those into race wins. We've had 3 race wins. We, you know, should have won in Bahrain, but for a spark plug, Melbourne, we got ourselves into a good position there. Turkey, we all know about. So, you know, we've had a bit of bad luck as well. But it's a long season, and you know, things tend to even themselves out throughout the year.
Well, at this point, coming into race 9, we've seen everybody copying bits of each cars. You've got the F-duct on here, which was brought in by McLaren. Other people have been copying the Red Bull's blown diffuser. Is that the secret of this car, or should be looking at some other end? Can you give us shed some light on the performance?
Well, inevitably, it's flattering when people do copy, what you're doing and the technology you have. Inevitably, it isn't one thing that creates the performance. The F-duct is a unique thing, a bit like the double diffuser last year. The exhausts, a lot of people are making a fuss out of them, but unless you've incorporated them fully into the design of your car, then it's probably hard to exploit the benefit, as we are with the F-duct, compared to probably a McLaren. But it's easy to pick on the big items, and sometimes the devil's in the detail with all these things.
So you're not telling us whether they should be looking at the front or the rear of the car, but good luck for the qualifying session today.
Thanks, guys. Well, Eddie, Red Bull struggled to beat teams when they were head and shoulders above everybody else with speed. Now that everyone else behind them has caught up, they've now got to try and beat cars as quick as them. It's going to be even harder from here on in, isn't it?
Well, the big problem is the Achilles heel here is that the car is fragile. We've said it from day one. Here earlier today, we thought about there was a possibility of a gearbox change, which we now are told that that's not going to happen. So things like this must be very, very concerning within the team, because what it does is it throws your mind into other aspects of the car rather than just thinking about the speed. And they have to first overcome all of these issues before they can be real contenders to be world champions.
OK, well, David's joined us once again, and all three of us are about to go next door and speak to McLaren. At the moment, the team in Formula One looking for a Formula One hat-trick.
Finished 45 seconds behind the Ferraris. You're putting a brave face on this, aren't you?
I honestly drove my heart out today. I think I deserved better.
Whose call was it to bring me in? Terrible idea.
Jensen's doing a good job at least.
Jensen Button makes it another Australian Grand Prix victory. And what a result for McLaren there.
Yeah! Oh, that feels so good!
Side by side, Hamilton and Vettel touching wheels.
Oh, what a victory! Yeah!
It's 2 out of 4. That's Lewis Hamilton's gone off. Lewis Hamilton's lost it. And last year's race winner and the championship leader is out of the race.
What the hell? You want to race these guys, or you want to be at the top of the car?
Another dramatic change then in the Turkish Grand Prix. Hamilton's got the inside line and retakes, and Hamilton's back in front.
We pushed them and they cracked.
Lewis Hamilton wins again in Canada. Jensen Button makes it a 1-2 for McLaren. What a perfect day. Woo-hoo!
Well, one of the biggest races in Formula One is the development race, and at the moment, McLaren are winning it. Look at that. 2 wins has shot them right up to the very front there. You can see Mercedes 4th, Ferrari 3rd, Red Bull 2nd. McLaren are currently at the top of the tree, 215 points. And the man who's taken charge of them is Martin Whitmarsh. Eddie, are you going to go and have a chat to your old foe, Martin, get his thoughts?
Martin, first of all, many congratulations. Last 2 races.
Thank you for what, Eddie?
But congratulating you. No, the question I want to ask you is, why have you allowed it happen that you haven't come out of the box as quickly as you used to do? And all of this development, they were all praising you for that development, but surely that should have been done at the beginning.
Well, believe it or not, we try to come out of the box as quickly as we can, but it doesn't always work, as you know. So, Formula One has changed a lot in recent years. You have to develop all the way through the air, otherwise you get beaten.
Did you ever think, or 3-4 races ago, did you think that you could be ever in this position, leading both championships?
You've got to think that. That's what gets you out of bed in the morning. We're pushing hard. I also think that if we don't keep pushing, we'll be behind in 2 or 3 races. So we have always to keep pushing like this.
On a human side, how will you cope with Pat Fry being in a red uniform at the next race?
I don't think he'll be in a red uniform at the next race, but Pat's a great guy, and it's always sad when you lose someone with that experience. But we're a strong team. It gives opportunity for others, and we'll move on.
Well done, Martin. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Start.
OK, Eddie, come back over here and join us. And quite remarkable, you started an interview with Martin Whitmarsh with a congratulations. I didn't think you had it.
He deserves it. They're fantastic. What they've done, no one expected it, did they? I mean, the turnaround, Turkey and all the races in the recent races, except I am surprised they're not strong here. This would be, for me, one of their bankers. And that's the evidence that we've seen in the pre-testing and the pre-qualifying. It's pretty shambolic.
Yeah, in practice, they haven't been fantastic, David. Both Jensen and Lewis struggling. That will be a concern for McLaren.
Well, it will. You know, this is a track that, coming off the back of Canada, which played to the strengths of this McLaren, has a very good top speed. They've obviously got the F-duct well honed. They've been using that since the beginning of the year. And I think they would have expected this very open Valencia track would suit their style of the car. But we've seen in the morning practice that Ferrari have come back strong. Renault are showing their face there with Kubica. And, of course, Red Bull are in the hunt.
OK, so finally, to wrap this whole thing up, who is currently the team to beat in Formula One?
Well, you've got two outstanding teams, and that's Red Bull and McLaren. It would be a real difficult question
Come
to
on,
call.
give us an answer, Eddie.
I'd have to say, because of the impetus is now with McLaren, you have to say they've got two world champions. They know how to do it. They have the experience. I'm afraid it's McLaren. OK, there you go. We'll talk about the midfield teams in just a few moments as well. We'll hear from Vitaly Petrov. But there's all sorts of ways that you can soak up Formula One with us here on the BBC this weekend. We're standing here in the Spanish sunshine next to the Tingalados. Now, once these were fish markets, they now house all of the Formula One action here along the pit lane. And you can press the red button this weekend to ride on board with various drivers. If you fancy it, then you can check out the BBC iPlayer. I know there are quite a few different things to choose from this weekend. So if you miss anything for the next 7 days, you can have your pick of the Formula One action. And of course, bbc.co.uk/F1 is our online home. I could tell you all about it, but I think you should just watch this.
I'll do videos, pictures, tweet updates throughout the weekend and post an exclusive blog after each Grand Prix.
As well as the inside line from down here in the pit lane.
Send in your questions and we'll answer them.
It's not just about commentary, it's about being here, being in the middle of it.
Read my post-race Formula One reports.
And of course, there's also plenty of Murray Walker online as well, which is always good. Now, if you just take a look behind me, you can see that the throng of fans who were in here not long ago, they've all been cleared out. And the reason is because very shortly this pit lane is going to be where the action is. We're not long away from qualifying now, just over 15 minutes until the first part of qualifying for this Grand Prix. And one man who will look rather at home, despite the fact that he comes from quite a long way away from here, is Vitaly Petrov. He's brand new in the Renault. His teammate is pushing him all the way, but he'll know his way around the streets here in Valencia, because for the past 3 years, he swapped vodka for sangria to live by the beach. Lucky boy.
From Russia with love, I fly to you.
Are you taking them off?
Yes, of course. I think it's much better.
You're the first ever Russian driver. Does the nation expect a lot from you?
Yeah, I try to not thinking about this. You know, when you will be thinking, I'm Formula One driver, look at me, I'm here, you know, and then you will be go down mentally. It's important to have a clear mind when you sit in Formula One car. And this is what I try to do. You know, in this season it was something, it was good, something was bad. So it was good results, was bad results, but it's still more half of the year of the season.
As you say, we're only kind of getting towards the halfway point. There have been some lowlights, but there have also been some highlights. I mean, you've not been shy when it comes to mixing it up with world champions.
These are young GP2 drivers. They've got a different mentality. They've got a desperate Dan, do-or-die mentality to get themselves into F1.
Alonso looks as if he's got a bit of a slipstream and could fall through now. He's got to hold it together as they go left. Oh, that was almost a touch there, was it?
It was a touch, yeah.
Here comes Petrov, and the champion's got no answer to that, has he?
When I overtake Michael Schumacher, I was smile in this time, but not in the race. After, just because I knew it, my family and friends will be smile on this. I love it, Formula One. I love everything what they do, what they did. For example, I like how a team is working. They, you know, when you come to the workshop and they try to do something, to improve something, and they're really exciting to do this. And when you come, for example, me or Robert, and they really come to them, speak with him and ask him where we can improve, what we can do, and it's a good feeling.
And tell us about Robert as a teammate, because he's quite a formidable person.
He's a good guy, he's funny, sometimes he did a funny joke, but we try to improve our car, so our feeling is absolutely the same, and this is why it's important to have so good kind of teammate like Robert.
Well, we've got the track behind us. Do you get nervous before a race weekend?
Of course I'm nervous before, but as soon the red light is come on, I start to cool down, because if I will be nervous, so my clutch position I will be, vibrating, so it's very important to don't do this.
Well, we've got our fingers crossed that you're going to have a great weekend here in your home race.
I hope.
Well, he's not the only one that hopes. Renault have got high hopes as well for this weekend. We've now made our way out here to the paddock. It's so interesting, actually, all of these big warehouses, and you can see the rest of the people that work on our show. Hello, everybody. The rest of our team in the reflection. Very nice, Matt. Now, these were built because, of course, this was the home of the 32nd America's Cup. That's what it was originally all set up for. Now Formula One have got involved, and you can see, actually, the back of the fish markets now. You just about managed to fit the huge Ferrari lorries underneath there. But we were talking about hope for Renault, and Alan Permain said he hopes that Robert Kubic's already is on the first or second row this weekend. Renault have done an incredible job this year, haven't they?
Well, let's just reflect. I don't know what it is, but teams that are on the brink of extinction. If you take Braun the year before last, and now you had Renault last year, what happens? They come back with a big flourish, and let's hope that continues, because for me, Renault is the biggest turnaround story of this year.
Well, Renault are a team like McLaren who have shown a history of being able to develop in season. We saw it when Fernando Alonso was there, and we're seeing it now with Robert Kubica, and I'm really impressed with the way he has got into this role with a team that was struggling a little bit at the beginning of the year, and he's knuckled down, and he's leading that team forward. And I think the two drivers, and Robert and Vitaly, are an exciting pairing.
How hard would life be for someone like Vitaly to come in against a driver of Robert's ability?
Well, unquestionably, it's always going to be tough to try and follow in the wheel tracks of someone who's got good experience. And but the other hand is, at least you have that ultimate test of your performance, and you can say at the end of any given weekend, well, if I was 1/10 away, then I'm getting pretty close to the action. So I think it's always good for a young driver to have a top teammate.
Pedro De La Rosa there, just wandering past, making his way to his cell. But if we're lucky, we might bump into a few drivers. We're just down here on the water's edge where all the team homes are. And we might bump into Lewis Hamilton. This weekend we've been tracking down McLaren's world champion to chat to him about what life is like sharing a team with Jenson Button.
We're keen to beat each other, but when I go out on the track, I don't say, okay, I've got to beat Jenson.
Yeah.
I think I've got to beat the Ferraris, I've got to beat Mercedes, I've got to beat the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls are always my target. If I was out there mainly with him as my goal, that would cause tension. I don't think that's really the way to look forward. We are a team, and in doing our work individually, focusing on the other guys, we'll naturally move forward and be racing one another.
You can hear the rest from Lewis tomorrow. A big weekend for him. And a very big boat out in the harbour. That actually belongs to Vijay Mallya. That's the Indian Empress, and he will hope to have something to celebrate, because I can tell you now, the Force India drivers were super quick in practice earlier on today, and it's not an easy track to be fast around here. It's nice and close to the beach, which is tough for the drivers, not because they're tempted to go and have a sunbathe, because it just puts a layer of sand on the circuit before they arrive here for the start of a Grand Prix weekend, and that's just one of the tough things about racing around the streets of Valencia.
Europe, Valencia, Spain, street circuit, 3.397 miles, downforce, medium, classic moment, Rubens leads a merry dance, 2009.
Well, it's plenty of corners, so 25 corners, and they're not similar. Some corners that you change in direction, you have just a very, very slow section, and then you have long straights and some fast corners. So it's the compromise between low and high speed that makes it exciting.
I enjoy to drive here. Actually, I like the characteristic of the track. For driving, it's pretty interesting, I would say.
This is a circuit where you've got to be really good on braking, and you've got to have a good engine, because it makes a big difference. I don't think that all those chicane, the downforce is not playing a big effect, because the corners are pretty slow.
It is with a stop-and-go circuit, but on the other side I like it. I mean, there's a lot of good combinations in it. It's fairly slow speed, but in general, I think is challenging for a driver.
Maybe more possible places to overtake than Monaco, let's say. It's always a street circuit, so it's going to be difficult to overtake. But we will see. We will try to have as much fun as possible.
I like the track a lot. It's, the slow corners are good. There's a lot of chicanes with curb riding and everything, which is quite fun.
It's a new circuit, which is a lot of second and third gear corners. So yeah, but it's like a golfer, mate. You've got to like them all. So here we are, and looking forward to doing my best.
It's a pretty slow circuit, which suits our car. A lot of long straights again, which suits our car with the what people call the F duct.
The favorite bit, it's obviously the high-speed section. It's around turn 19, 20, 21 that you do have the best pleasure out of it. But it's not where you gain most of the time. The times are gained on the very low speed.
And the times at the very front could be super competitive this weekend. I think this is possibly the toughest qualifying to call of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, Ferrari were genuinely quick this morning with Fernando Alonso. Robert Kubica was topping the times. You know, Renault really believe they've got a chance of the front two rows. And I think surprisingly, as we see the drivers, Massa there making his way to qualifying with his brother, he's been a little bit off the pace this weekend. He had a spin in free practice, a little bit disappointing as we just walk to the paddock here. It looks like we're able to doorstep Jensen.
Do you want to go and doorstep Jensen? I'm not sure I'm brave enough. I think
EG can.
Go on, Eddie. Go and say hello. Run and say hello. Go on.
There is only so much I can do. Honestly, the guy needs to concentrate on what he's got to do. He's under pressure here because, honestly, the McLaren is not quick enough, and he needs all the time inside his own mind that he can get, and he certainly doesn't need me gossiping to him.
That's probably the most responsible thing I've heard you say in a year and a half.
David, will you stop? My secrets are mine and yours.
How things change in 18 months. These are live shots of Jensen Button making his way to the car for today. How keen will he be this weekend, having seen his teammate pick up 2 consecutive wins? Because Lewis and Jensen can tell us as many times as they like that they're great mates and everything's fine in McLaren, but we all know the first person you want to beat is your teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the fact that Jensen was able to get those 2 wins early in the season, he's broken his duck at McLaren. He's got the respect of the team, and he knows that Lewis is a top driver. So he's not happy with Canada. He explained that, but he can't win them all, and he'll just be concentrating now and trying to ace his qualifying lap.
And I think it's important to explain to people at home, Eddie, that actually right across the grid there are drivers and there are teams battling away. Of course, Fernando Alonso's keen to turn around his form and do well for Ferrari, but you've got Renault and Force India trying to catch up with Mercedes. You've got Toro Rosso and Williams trying to catch up with Force India and Renault. Everywhere you look, there are drivers having to try so hard because it's so competitive.
Well, it is so competitive, and actually, if you look at what we're now saying for the final pre-qualifying of the time sheet, it's all higgledy-piggledy, completely different as to what we saw last race, and that's what's making this season so exciting.
And we can see Mark Webber now making his way out to the car. Red Bull will feel pretty buoyant, I imagine. There was a lot of talk about other teams, yet in the first and second and third free practice sessions they were fast, with Vettel the quickest boy this morning.
Yeah, what they've decided to do is to commit to running the F duct. They'd previously tested it, but now they feel that they've got the performance from it, because one of the issues they've struggled with is the top speed. They simply don't have enough horsepower from that Renault engine, and they've been better on the circuits. They've got more downforce, medium speed, high speed corners, but they were pretty impressed with the morning practice, so they think they have a shot for pole here.
It's so hard to explain to people that the battle for development is as exciting as the battle on the track for pole and a win, isn't it?
Well, I think it is, and the reason for that, and it's added to our excitement also, is that these teams are not spending all that time testing in behind closed doors. They're doing it in front of us, and they have to develop and they have to make the car at the tests, at the race here, and that's what makes it good.
OK, well, as David said, it is super competitive. The pole position shootout has to wait, but right now it's time to find out who will be the 4 guys in the first part of qualifying.